This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Joe Trahan, along with producer extraordinaire Andrew Cely. We're talking about Cowboys. Wow, what a demoralizing loss to the Carolina Panthers, 30-27. Panthers win it with a end-of-the-game buzzer-beating field goal from 33 yards out, following a 6-minute drive. And man, Andrew, that was hard to watch. What do you got on the show tonight?
Yeah, it's hard to watch, especially after last week when everything was trending positive. We were thinking this stretch could be getting better.
So long ago.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes. Let's get right into it with what's on the show.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
I think Rico Dowdle just had another 10-yard run. What else can we talk about? There is no D in Dallas. Can anything help this unit get better? We'll try and break it down. And a more positive note, in honor of Red River Week, we break down the top 5 college football rivalries. Will I finally cave to Joe's provocations and slant my list towards North Texas teams? Excuse me. We shall see. Joe, that's what's on the show. Now who's on the show and who's going to help us break down this disaster class?
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, it was so tough we had to bring in our lead NFL analyst, the one and only Glenn Stretch-Smith. We've also got Mike Leslie, who's at the home office in Waxahachie. All right, guys, so let's jump into this malady that is the Cowboys defense. And Coach, since you're the analyst, you get to go first. What bothered you most about that performance?
Watching the defensive line get absolutely knocked off of the football. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 yards. I'm talking about 8 to 10 yards driven off the football. When you have to coach effort and physicality, you're coaching in the wrong business in football.
That's a great point. It is hard to watch them on skates, right? It's not supposed to be an all skate out there for the defense, but it felt like that, right? You know, it was unbelievable. Mike, what bothered you most?
Yeah, to Stretch's point, Kenny Clark was even the one who came out and said after Rico Dowdle's comments earlier this week that, hey, he's going to have to back it up. He's going to watch us on film and see the what did he see on film, Kenny? And what is everybody going to see on film after this one? I mean, it was bad.
What I was going to say, Mike, that's what bothered me most because, listen, and we talked about this on Sports Special, I know that NFL athletes don't pay attention to the bulletin board material like, you know, high school players or college players. However, it still doesn't change the fact that Rico Dowdle challenged you, you came back at him, and then you put that on tape. It's unbelievable. And I get it. It's noon start. It's the Cowboys. They're used to 3:25 starts. But we thought we had taken care of that hurdle with the way they played against the lowly Jets. But now we find out it's the same old song and dance we've seen from this franchise for far too long. They love to play down to their competition. Andrew?
Yeah, and that's the big thing to me was last week we were lauding them for getting over that kind of lull post incredible tie versus the Packers. This was exactly the opposite. And part of it was a lack of aggressiveness. When you are the offense and you realize you have to be perfect every possible play, I thought, especially toward the end of the first half, I know I texted the group chat about this, you had 17 seconds left on the board. Every point matters. At least try for a field goal. You only have to get to the 50. You have a guy that has that kind of leg. Now, granted, it's a minor thing within the small context of the game. But as it turned out, those 3 points ended up swinging the whole thing. And instead of seeing Carolina walk down the field in 2 plays coming right out of the half and potentially tie the game, you basically gave them the lead in what ended up being a seesaw battle the rest of the way. And they were on the wrong end of it. And that's the main thing. It's just, you've seen killer instinct from them in a lot of games prior to this. They didn't have that today.
How much is Brandon Aubrey paying you for all this?
Nothing. He's Plano. That's all it is. Just repping the Wildcats. That's all it is.
No, listen, I think it's a good point. And I do think the point behind it is if the special teams weren't so bad, I think if there was any kind of a return that could have been deemed a positive, I do think they would have went for points there, Andrew. And I think that's the takeaway, right? That special teams unit, especially the returners on this day, seriously needed help. It was not good at all. But let's back up to that defense because here's the other issue I think we have to work through, Coach. And this is the hard part for me, right? Because we've seen this defense get exploited in every way possible now. We've seen the deep ball, teams going over the top. We have seen teams mix it up and march downhill. And today, we just saw them get the absolute football shoved down their throat with a running game. Where do you go? What do you say? How does Matt Eberflus begin to get traction from this unit?
I don't know that he can, Joe. You just went through it. I'll help you out with the Greek alphabet. You went the alpha to the omega. They've opened the middle up and let him run through the middle. Now they've let him run the football. They played with poor leverage. They played with poor hands. They played with poor feet. They played with poor eyes. I mean, I don't know how much more you can say. This has been a disaster for the defense. And to think about an offensive team that is the level that they're playing at and a defensive team that's at the level they're playing at, you wonder how these two even practice together.
Yeah, it sounds like the bank is broke. They're just playing too poor all around. Mike, when you look for positives out of that defense, I just don't think there are any.
No, because I think a couple of weeks ago, Brian Schottenheimer was trying to say, well, we're not that bad from a run defense perspective.
Right, yes.
And even at that point, I was inclined to ask, are you actually not that bad defending the run? Or does nobody bother to run the football against you because they don't have to?
It's too easy against the pass.
And we have seen these last couple of weeks, because even last week against the Jets that couldn't do anything today against the Denver Broncos, the Jets ran the ball down the Cowboys' throat a week ago. And if Dallas wasn't able to create the big lead that they did last week, they probably would have been able to continue running the football like that last week, and it may have been a different football game if not for Breece Hall's fumble.
Yeah.
You can run the football against this team. You can pass the football against this team. You can do anything you want to against this Dallas Cowboys defense. We were joking about this before we started the show. The New Orleans Saints have a bad defense. They are giving up 26.7 points per game this year, 8th worst in the NFL. If the Cowboys merely had the New Orleans Saints defense, they'd be 4-2 or 5-1. But instead, they have a terrible defense.
First of all, thanks for that reminder about the New Orleans defense. But your point is very well taken, right? They don't even need middle of the road. They just need upper lower third, right? As opposed to the basement. And it's, that kind of leads us to the next point. And we will talk about this in the next segment. But what they're doing in terms of wasting some of the best play we've ever seen from Dak Prescott is borderline criminal, especially when you lay over all this the fact that when they shipped Micah Parsons out, they said because they wanted to be better against the run. That's what we were told. That's what the general manager said, right? We can scheme up and get pass rush, but we couldn't scheme up against the run. We need to be able to stop the run. Where was that today? Where was that today? And there's one other troubling thing that's going on right now, and it happened after this game, and we will talk about that next. We want to take a break here, but coming up, the thing that I found most troubling about what Cowboys players said afterward, and we will talk about Dak Prescott and that offense because we can't make it all gloom and doom. Keep it here. It's the ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
I brought the Cely family up to Winnipeg to see the start of the Dallas Stars season and the second Glenn Gullitson era in person. Huge shout out to the entire Winnipeg faithful. A fantastic atmosphere and an even better game. Dallas won 5-4 in regulation before traveling to Colorado a couple days later to beat the Avalanche in a shootout. Dallas's home opener is Tuesday night against the Wild. Your friendly reminder that there are good teams to watch in the city.
Well, first of all, we have to shout out Andrew for putting himself in his open. And to pull the curtain back completely, he edits that too, so he has the power to put himself in.
It's more so just a showcase how alone we were in Winnipeg as Stars fans supporting the team out there. It was a fantastic game, fantastic fans. I mean, if this ever gets to see the people up on the other side of the border, y'all were great. We really appreciate the hospitality.
Yeah, that was cool. Family trip, so very cool. Awesome stuff. Glad you went to see the opener. Good stuff there. All right, now let's get back to the bad stuff.
Right.
Because here's what bothered me most. After the game, it was Trahan Diggs saying that, listen, we got to stop giving up all these points, and we're struggling doing all these different things. I don't think our defense has an identity. Well, unfortunately, he's not right about that because they do have an identity. They're one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL, right? But when he starts saying that kind of thing, Coach, it almost feels like it's a give up, and it almost feels like you're trying to blame coaches, and it feels like the beginning of finger pointing when we start hearing those kinds of phrases.
Well, that is what you're going to see. You're going to see guys that are frustrated with what's going on, the communication. They've blamed every single thing that's going on. And so, yeah, that is exactly what's happening here is there's a chance that you could see this thing implode. And if that happens, it's going to happen because nobody has confidence in what they're hearing in the meetings, and they don't have confidence in what they're putting out there on the film. Because guess what, Joe? That's in Sharpie. What you're putting out on film, it's not erasable. It's out there forever.
Yeah, and that's the scary part, right? Because we just, there was the panacea of the 5 sacks a week ago, right? But now we see what's really going on here, especially after the Jets had a total yardage of 82 yards today, I think. And it was it minus 10 yards passing when you figure
negative
out
10 net passing yards.
Minus 10 yards.
Unbelievable stuff. So, I mean, look, the Cowboys were functional against that, but it's just not going to be that way every week, Mike.
No, it is not. Glenn Stretch Smith had more passing yards than the New York Jets did today. Minus 10 passing yards. Yeah, no, there's nothing. There's no thread to pull at. There's nothing to pull at. The only thing, as Andrew and I talked about on the postgame show, the only thing, if you're a Cowboys fan and you're looking for some positivity about this defense, it is the eventual return of DeMarvion Overshown. But that is still weeks away, and it's unfair to expect that he's just going to fix everything that's wrong with this defense. That's not going to happen. He might make it better, and heck, as we were talking about earlier, better might be all they need to be able to win some of these football games. But, yeah, no, there is no – Brian Schottenheimer did say after the game that he didn't think they were going to be pointing fingers, but moments later –
right.
Here comes Diggs with that comment. It's got potential to get really ugly really fast because you can't lose to a team like the Carolina Panthers. And when you do, it causes everybody to look either inward or elsewhere in the locker room. And it seems like there's less inward happening right now.
The other thing Schottenheimer said was that the team just needed to work on their consistency overall. I think the problem is they are consistent. Like this game, in its fashion, we have seen now 5 weeks in a mixture of different ways. Mike and I were joking. It was about to be 37-37 again, heading to overtime if things shook out a specific way. And as we also kind of outlined, it's like, this is not fair to Dak and the season that he's having, and it's also not fair to Schottenheimer and the offense that he's calling in his first season at the helm. For Dak and them to try and get some easy passes that went backwards late in the fourth quarter with the game in the balance and the game was tied, and then to punt with about six and change left remaining, and know kind of internally it's like there's a chance they might not see the ball again, and then they didn't. That's the kind of stuff that they have to go out on the field and work against because they know everything has to be perfect. There is no wiggle room. You have to score on every possession, Joe.
And unfortunately, we saw this coming. We've been saying this for weeks. Dak's got to be perfect. You got to score more than 30 points. You might have to score more than 40 points. These are all things, unfortunately, that we've seen and that we've shown, and it's a shame, right? Because Dak Prescott just had his 3rd straight week of at least 3 touchdown passes and at least 120 QB rating. He is just playing off the charts. And today he didn't even have a running game because Javonte Williams only had 29 yards. So you have the most important position on the field playing at a premium, playing at one of the highest levels in the league right now, and you put up a putrid performance. I mean, that's really tough to take. And listen, you could almost tell, and I don't know if you guys kind of were looking at it this way, I feel like the defense is even changing the way that Schotty's calling the game because, Andrew, you mentioned the fact that he's not as aggressive as you might like. And it might be, hey, listen, we need to possess the ball because if I do throw it up and throw that deep ball to Pickens that we were all waiting for and we score too quickly, well, then that defense trots back out on the field and you know what's going to happen then. So I felt like he was even trying to slow play the offense. So unfortunately, the struggles have become pervasive, Coach. And I do have one thread we can pull. Cowboys fans, I know it was a tough day looking at that defense, but I will say this. When George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are on the field together,
buddy,
Bro, this should be an absolute blast. Coach, what do you think?
No, I think absolutely you're going to continue to see them try to press the ball. They got to score 40 now. I mean, it really is. That's the realistic side of it. It's kind of like the realistic side of me looking at Mike Leslie. He looks like he's fixing to take off in that SpaceX tomorrow morning with that headset on.
Okay.
I didn't know where he was going with that.
I didn't either, but we're unnecessary roughing on Coach. That was unnecessary roughness with that comment. The headset's fine, Mike. It looks fine. You're good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
He needs a box, though, to stand next to Coach. That's all I'm going to say.
After that penalty, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to have some fun with rivalry talk. Thanks to Andrew. Stick with us on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
And now it's time for the top 5.
Sorry, Coach, you're being subjected to my list again. Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. And in honor of Red River Week, it's time to count down the top 5 college football rivalries. I was a little surprised I didn't do this last year, so we're rectifying that mistake. The question is, where does Red River fall? Let's start here. Number 5, USC versus Notre Dame. There is no proximity with these two, but there's tons of history. 95 games since 1926, tons of tradition, a history of ruining each other's seasons, the Bush push, the jeweled staff, whatever the heck Irish thing you call it. Lots to like. But it still slots in at number 5. Number 4, we go to the service academies, Army versus Navy. Every year they get a weekend all to themselves. You can literally throw the records out in a game that loves drenching itself in patriotism. This is the pinnacle. Yeah, I know, they're technically on the same team, but for a couple hours every year they get to let loose and hit each other. It's also one of the longest running with 125 meetings. In at number 3, time to bring out the bad blood, intrastate. There's a number of great SEC rivalries we could focus on, but there's something special about the Iron Bowl. Theatrics off the field are legendary, poisoning trees, just the tip of the iceberg. Then you've got the names, Joe Namath, Ken Stabler, Cam Newton, Bo Jackson, the kick six, the cam back. And its placement on the calendar, yeah, this one's worth the wait every year. All right, now, before we continue, I would like to build a little drama before we hit number 2, since this is where the real meat of it is. Texas A&M and Texas did not make the list. You can't take 15 years off in the middle of the modern era of football when everyone still wanted it around. And more importantly, Texas has won 2/3 of the games played, so A&M's got to win a little bit more for them to make the list. All right, drum roll here. Number 2, the game. The guys from Ohio State versus Michigan. You want to talk legendary exploits and meaning to each team, this one's way up there. Buckeyes won the national championship, and a vast majority of the fan base is still upset at the loss to the Wolverines at the end of last season. The game just means everything. So what could possibly top that? I tried like hell to find a reason it's not Texas OU, but it is. It's Red River. Does it stress me out as much as Michigan, Ohio State? No, but it just is. If there's one reason above everything else, the setting. The split stadium is so unique and memorable every year, and having it dead center in the middle of the college football calendar just adds something special. Football up north is great, physical, traditional, but the border battle at the Cotton Bowl, I'm a Texas kid. It's the best. Except for the fact that I sound like Elmer Fudd trying to say the name of it. They got to fix that. Coach, lead us off here. What do you think?
Hey, a knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. You got it right, brother. You got it right. That is the number 1 game, and it isn't even close. Way to go, Andrew Cely.
How about that? A ringing endorsement. Mike, what do you think?
I was waiting for you to do all that build-up and then put, like, Miami, Florida State at number 1 and leave Red River off the list.
I was this close. I was this close.
Now, listen, having had the opportunity to experience it a handful of times, Red River is in a class by itself. I will say I haven't had the experience to live out some of the other ones on your list, so I don't have that apples-to-apples comparison, but Red River is what it is for a reason.
Joe, you've got the blessing here. What's up?
When you think about college football and you think about the pageantry, the drama, the scene, it's the down the middle split that does it for me. It's why it stands above the rest. And all the meanings of the games, all that becomes, cyclical with which programs are great and not. But the bottom line is you can't beat the scene. You can't beat the scene at the Cotton Bowl. So you got number 2 and number 1 right, Andrew, so the rest of the list doesn't matter. Good on you. Knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone.
I'm sure some Aggie fans are a little angry at me right now, but
we need to
y'all
mash
gotta
those
win,
two
man.
together into an.
Come on, Joe. I wanted you to give us a big Tex rendition. Can we give a big Texas hello to our Oklahoma friends?
Yeah, no, we're not doing it. All right, we got to take a break. I would have, but we've ran out of time, Coach. All right, I got a final word for you, Mike and Coach. Thanks so much for being a part of the show tonight. We got one more thing you got to hear next.
Joe, last week we were talking about the defense. I think I mentioned, we just need 1 turnover per game. They got that turnover today, and I was thinking they're on the right side of it. Turns out, guys, I think you need 2. I think if we get 2 is the magic number. If you're going to give up that many yards, just turn them over and get going. Joe's final take.
Cowboys defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. It is time to do something drastic. It is time to get everyone in the room, all of your defensive charges. Everyone check your ego at the door. Forget it all. Spill it all. Get it out. What's wrong? There's a problem with communication. There's a problem with the way this defense is interacting amongst itself, not the opposing teams. Get together, check the ego at the door, talk, communicate, figure it out, be vulnerable, and be better. That's all I can say. I think that's where we are, Andrew.
Again, we were talking, players-only meetings at certain points. Who knows when that's going to happen? But they need to turn the ship around fast because Washington's right around the corner.
That's right. Here comes Jaden Daniels. Good luck with that. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. That is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
This has been the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.